The reason you're trash on defense right now in CFB 26 is because you're not playing it the right way. Luckily for you, in this video, I'm breaking down 5 defensive tips that you can take in your next game and start locking down with. From ways to control exactly where your zones are playing to the best defense stop empty formations, I got something that can drastically improve your defense today, so don't skip out on any of the tips I have. Let's jump right into it. The first thing I want to break down is what zone drops actually do with a complete breakdown. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, so this is a question I get all the time on my one-on-one coaching calls. What do zone drops actually do? Alright, so zone drop flats. These are going to control, as it says, your hard flats, cloud flats, and soft squats. So whatever you have this set to, regardless of which one of those 3 zones you're using, this is where they're going to drop to. Alright, so if you set them to 20, even if you put a hard flat, which you would think would play at 5 yards when it's on default, if you set your zone drop flats to 20, it's going to drop to 20 yards, regardless of what zone it is. So again, it has to be a light blue zone like we have Tampa 2 right here, right? So those have light blue zones. Now, when we come into our zone drop curl flats, these are going to control your curl flats, quarter flats, and seam flats, so all purple zones. So we come into cover 4 palms, we come into cover 3 sky, even we come into cover all 3 of these. All of them have a purple zone in the field, so that's what's going to control your curl flats, is this zone drop setting. Again, whatever you have it set to, regardless of what zone you're using of these 3, that's where it's going to drop to. And then your hooks, you have 3-rec hook, hook curl, 3-rec hook, mid read, and vert hook. So really every zone coverage is going to have one of these, like these yellow or gray zones. So cover 3 sky, cover 6, cover 9, we have nickel 2 trap. Like all of them are pretty much going to have these zones. And then you also see how cover 1 robber also has these yellow zones in the field. So that's what's going to control where they drop to. All right, so really need to understand that if you call like a cover 3, for example, this doesn't have any blue zones. So if I come into like sim pressure 3, if I set my flats to 25, but then call sim pressure 3, my flat zones are still going to drop to 5 yards because I have curl flats, purple zones in the field. So really that's the breakdown here of what zone drops actually do. When you leave them on default, your flats are going to drop to about 15 to 20 yards. Your curl flats are going to sit basically at 5 to 10 yards, and then your hooks are going to drop to 10 yards when they're on default. So you can leave them on default or you can change them. But what I would say is if you're just trying to stop checkdowns, either you're going to use 5-yard curl flats. So something like this, you see how if I double flat, where you're just going to notice how that safety is going to be flying down to make that play and intercept that pass or knock it away. So that can be an option, to stop those checkdowns. You look at it on the other side, this running back out of the backfield, you're just going to notice how there's going to be a guy right there to basically tackle him behind the line of scrimmage because we have our curl flat set to 5 yards. But then also what you can do is press Y and then right stick down to put hard flats in the field. But you have your hard flats on default in your zone drops, so they're actually going to play like a hard flat should. So you're going to notice how it's pretty much just going to be the same thing, where he's just going to run out, he's going to make a beeline down here and either break that pass up or tackle it for a very short gain. The further away he is, the harder it's going to be for him to get down. Like if you put a hard flat on a guy that's on the line of scrimmage, like this defensive end, he's going to do a better job. Like he's not backpedaling at all. So that's really the difference, is like the curl flat at 5 will backpedal a little bit and then come down, whereas the hard flat will literally stand basically at the line of scrimmage. So really, to stop checkdowns, either use the 5-yard curl flats in your zone drops or just put default hard flats in the field. But bottom line, that's what zone drops actually do, why they're useful, and how you can go about stopping checkdowns by using them. Alright, next I want to break down how you can get instant sacks on the quarterback using this pro trick. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, so the pro trick that I'm going to be talking about here is going to be the D-pad switch stick, okay? So really you want to make sure you have the right settings turned on, you have your defense and motion response disabled. Now, you can do this from man coverage, you can do this from zone coverage, alright? I feel like I've talked about the man coverage version a lot here, so we'll do it from zone. What you're going to do is, from this particular formation, essentially what you're just trying to do is overload blitz them and then switch stick off by using the D-pad. The reason why you're going to have to do that is if you look at this play, right, and I blitz my user to get the overload, if I try to switch stick using the right stick, you just notice how I'm whiffing. because my man is in a blitz assignment, and so I'm not actually able to switch players. That will mess up your whole defense, right? You notice how this tight end is going to be wide open right here for an easy touchdown. So it's like, if you don't actually switch correctly using the correct mechanic, your defense is going to be clueless. So instead, what you're going to do, you can shift your defensive line to the left. You're going to blitz your user to set up the overload, and basically what you're trying to do is get your user to run into the center, but you still want to blitz. So you're, in order to blitz, like, you can't leave this man in a zone, Lawson. You need him to blitz, but you still want to switch players, so you're going to have to use the right stick. So again, boom, take the snap, immediately press D-pad to the right, and now you notice how I'm back into coverage while still basically user rushing. So as I like to say, you're getting the best of both worlds, where your user is just going to run into the center, boom, and then you are just going to be able to D-pad switch it, get up here, take this away, while still creating this 4-on-3 advantage over here on the left side of the offensive line. It's really like the easiest thing that you could ever do. Boom, just run up there, really do a great job making the play. So shift the D-line, blitz your user. So again, like I said, you can do this not just from Cub, you can do this from a lot of different defenses, double mug, 4-3, even 6-1, many others. But what you're just going to notice is you have to make sure you're getting this mechanic down with the D-pad switch stick. It's also really important that you're standing in the right spot here, to really make sure that you get the attention of the center. So boom, take the snap, get the attention of the center, my guy runs into the center, and then I'm back into coverage over the top to be able to defend that. So really, that's what's going to make the D-pad switch stick super valuable here, is you're able to still use a rush, create the 4-on-3 advantage, and then you're back into coverage simply by pressing the D-pad to the right. Alright, so if you found those first two defensive tips helpful here in College Football 26, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down College Football 26 tips and tricks to help you guys get better every single day, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. But if you want all 5 of these tips in written form to save on your phone so you can always reference them during gameplay, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join CFB University, where your first month of all my written breakdowns for the month of May, June, and beyond is only going to be $1. You can save everything in your phone, and you never have to go surfing through a video, so I highly recommend you check it out. Please, don't let $1 be the reason you're still struggling to win games here in CFB 26. Check it out today, and let's jump right back into it. Alright, next I want to break down a trick that's going to help your zones play better to actually defend where you need them to. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, so here we're going to be breaking down shading your hook zones, alright, to defend certain routes. So, now, you can certainly set your zone drops, that's an option for you, and that'll really control better where your zones are exactly playing. The reality, though, is sometimes people are going to audible, throw you off, and now you kind of have to adjust on the fly. So how you're going to do that is you're going to simply shade your hook zones. So you're going to press Y, and then you see, or triangle on PlayStation, and then you see over the top, inside, outside, underneath. So what's going to happen here is if I shade my hook zones over the top, instead of playing at 10 yards, they're going to more drop back to 20 or to 15 or 20 yards. So really, you're just going to see how, look how he's backpedaling there to help defend that tight end. Now, eventually, he's going to run over the top of him. He's not just going to keep running with him, but you're going to notice how if they try to throw that tight end pass early, he's dropping back there to defend that. Versus now, if I press Y and then shade underneath, now my hook zones are going to be playing much shallower to like defend this running back. Right, and so now the seam is more open. They can throw it earlier, they can throw it later, and so it's really just, you're just kind of understanding what you're actually trying to defend. Now, what I would say, so that's just some examples right there, but what I would say how you're actually going to use this is to defend return routes and seam passes. So like I just showed you, if you press Y and then right stick up, you're going to be able to defend the tight end seam, because now they hike throw that, and now that guy's actually dropping back there instead of just trying to like cone down and play underneath. Right? And then also if you're talking about like defending the running back seam pass out of the backfield too, that's really where you would want to shade underneath. Boom, we shade underneath, and now when they go to throw that running back, we have a guy right there to make that play. So you're really going to be able to just shade your hook zones to actually play and defend what you need them to. Also, like I said, trying to defend return routes, some of the best routes in the game. Well, if you just leave your hooks on default, like I'm going to do right here, what you're going to notice is, boom, take the snap, he's going to backpedal, and now we can throw that right in front of him for a, an easy 4 or 5 yard gain. Versus if you shade underneath, right, so you just press Y and then shade underneath, now your hook zones are going to be doing a better job of just guarding that. you just notice how, again, they're converging right there, where that's a flat and a hook. They're going to do a great job of making sure there's no airspace really for you to be able to throw that, return route there. Again, so we press Y and then right stick underneath, and then we can also shade inside too, right? So you could shade underneath and inside, and so now they're going to go to call that return route, and so now we're just going to be right there where he's playing more inside and he's, more underneath. So you could still, like I said, set your zone drops to play at 5 yards, or set your zone drops to play at 10, and then shade inside to make it like one less adjustment, especially if you know what's coming. But the bottom line is you're able to kind of shade your hook zones to kind of play where you really need them to. Like if you wanted to defend like a quick slant to number 1 right here, right, you could just shade your hook zones outside, and now they're going to play in that area and really do a great job of making sure that they can't really throw that pass. So really, bottom line here, start shading your hook zones in the direction that you really are trying to defend. So over the top is a common one, outside, underneath, those are all great options, and you're going to see your hook zones start to play a lot better. All right, before I jump into those final 2 tips that you're absolutely not going to want to miss here in College Football 26, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down College Football 26 tips and tricks every single day to help you guys get better, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. And I'm the only one breaking it down right now every day on YouTube, so I'm really the best one to take information and learn from. So what are you thinking? Go down below, hit that subscribe button. It's literally free, and let's jump right back into those final 2 tips. All right, in that last tip, I just showed you how you can get your hook zones to play better, but what if there was another way to give you more control of exactly where all of your zones are playing? Let me introduce you to the custom zones feature. Alright, so like I just said in the last segment, you can also set zone drops, right, if you wanted to, but here's the reality. If you're trying to stop like a corner route on one side, I'm going to set my flats at 25, I'm going to set up the double Mabel or Mabel on one side, right, boom. So I have my street corner flat defense. They put their tight end on a corner route, right, they put their running back on a flat, and so they call something like this. Great, I have my 5-yard curl flat, I have my 20-yard flat, and so we're just going to be able to do a great job of making a play on that ball. Maybe I would bring him down to 20 yards, I don't know, really just depending on where the corner route is. The problem that gets created though is now your flat on the left side is playing at 25 yards because you have your flat set to 25, right? So now if you don't put like a purple zone in the field, now they can just throw this because there's no flat on that side, and it's just going to be an easy completion, on the sideline, just pick up easy yards. So it's like there's nothing that you can do to work around that until you start using the custom zones feature. So what you're going to do, you're going to press Y twice, and then you're going to press the icon of your guy that you want to adjust, so X here in this case, and you're going to hold LB and then zone stem him down to where you want him to be. So now you're going to see how I have the same cover 2 defense. I have my zone drop flat set to 25 yards, but one of my cloud flats is dropping to 25. The other one's just going to be sitting at maybe 5 yards right here, right where he needs to be, 5 yards off the line to take away a flat. So now they can call the same play, right? Boom. You're just going to notice something like this, and both sides are going to be taken away. So the corner out's guarded. Oh, I forgot to put the curl flat, but you're able to see how, boom, we're just sitting right there. This game is actually just terrible for the amount of drop picks they get. It's just so bad. But anyway, you're just going to see how my 5-yard flat is now sitting here, whereas this guy is dropping back to 25 yards to defend their corner out. So you're just giving yourself more control because, again, you might not need and you don't need that 25 on the left side. You only need it on the right. And again, if I would have put my curl flat right here at 5 yards, this would have been guarded. But it's like, that's the name of the game. You want to be able to adjust your defense, based on what you're actually playing against. Like, for example, another example would be, let's just say they have a return route on Ryan Williams and a seam pass to the tight end. Well, what I want to do is I might want to shade my hooks down, so shade my coverage underneath, and then I want to custom zone this guy further up to help defend the seam a lot better. Right, so I have basically a 5-yard hook on the left and then like a 20-yard hook on the right to help defend the seam. So you're going to notice how he's backpedaling right there, and then we're also just going to be able to defend that return route. So you're just giving yourself more options, more control when you're actually able to custom zone and use this feature. You just see how this guy's right here, and you're able to see how this guy's doing a better, like they're not dropping in the same spot, even though this is the same zone. So really just gives you more control. You can do this with flats, curl flats, hooks, really any zone to custom zone, you just need to open the position group. So for secondary, press Y twice, then press his icon LB, and then you're going to hold LB and left stick where you want to zone stem him. So boom, just like that, if I wanted to have him play at the line of scrimmage. And then if you're doing like a linebacker, you would press, or a defensive lineman, you would press D-pad left twice, press LB, and then you could custom zone this guy as well, really wherever you need him to be. So start using the custom zones feature to give yourself more control over where your zones are playing, and it's going to make your zone coverage that much better. Alright, and that fifth and final defensive tip I want to break down in this video is actually going to be the best defense to stop empty formations. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, so first we're going to actually come into Mike Blitz 0 here, and we are going to do the exact same thing I showed you in the first or the second tip of this video, the D-pad switch stick. You see how everything is going to connect back to each other because this is super valuable against empty. The reason being, they can't block anyone. They can't block their running back unless they motion someone back inside. Like, they're done for. So if you just put 4-on-3 on one side, like, what are they going to do? Right, so there's no one that can slide over, tight end, running back, boom, take the snap, D-pad, switch stick, 4-on-3 advantage, and really all that you have to do is play man coverage on the back end. And so that's what I'll break down. That's really the only way that they can beat you, because they have to beat you so quick when you use this. Empty players hate playing against this formation because you can just do this to them every single play. Like, there's not a great slide protection for this blitz. So if you just do this every play, they're going to have to rely on these quick hitting routes. Now, it just kind of depends on what they're going to actually try to hit you with, but I would always recommend you press Y, press A, and then individually route shade every man. So A here in this case, I'm going to route commit inside. So as many guys that you can route commit for, so YA, click his icon, and then route commit inside, right? So you're going to shade out, or you could shade inside and then route commit outside if you wanted to. So boom, route commit him outside, route commit him outside, route commit out, and boom. So you can get the adjustment off if you're good with quick adjustments because it's just muscle memory. But at that point, you're shaded in one direction, route committing the other way, and as long as you set the blitz up correctly, like, you just see how no one's open. And it's going to be like that for a lot of formations. Now, if they're smart and start spamming core routes like on the outside to like Jam Miller, then maybe you look to like press out here, boom, and so then you could maybe back off everyone else. If that's what you wanted to, you just wanted to press the outside receiver because that might be something that they go to when you're in off-man coverage. But boom, take it, D-pad switch it, get the 4-on-3 advantage. Everyone's route committed, and you're essentially just going to be running the routes for their receiver. So really, that's the first great way to stop those empty formations. You're just blitzing them. They can't pick up the blitz. You just cover for long enough. You're good to go. But also, what you're going to do if you want to run zone coverage, I would recommend you come to like a cover 3 cloud defense. The reason why is because you want to always be in something that's a little bit hybrid, like a hybrid defense, because if you just run cover 2, the sideline's wide open. Don't cover 2 on both sides. The sideline will be wide open. And if you run cover 3, regular cover 3, like this looks like too high, right? But if you run regular single high, then they can just attack you right at the seam. So you need to be in like a hybrid defense. And so really what you're going to try to do here is just switch stick them. Right, it kind of depends on actually where they're going as far as what route concept they're calling, but you basically have to rely on your switch stick. What makes empty so annoying is that they can hit you on every level, right? Because they have 5 receivers, so they could just call a bunch of high-low concepts, read your user, and then, like, what are you going to do? But it's like you have to actually switch stick and take away these windows, so take away the seam pass right off the rip. If they call, like, verticals like they're doing right here, you have to be able to stop the crosser. So that's why if you're going to run this, like, you have to be really good with switch stick. You could use the D-pad switch stick, or you could use the right stick since you're, switching from coverage players. But it's like this is the alternative. If you don't want to run man, you feel like you're getting cooked in man. Like empty is really the only formation I run man against, just because it's so hard to run zone against empty. But it's like you have to switch it. That's really your only option. You're never going to be able to stop a good empty player when you're just like, running regular zone, cover 2, cover 3 zone, and just lurking around. There's just going to be too many holes in your zone defense. But then it's like when you try to patch the holes, you give up like wide open sideline passes. So really that's why it's important to have a good user here, have a good switch stick, and then kind of just rely on your pressure. You also can't blitz empty unless you're running man coverage, again, because there will be too many holes in your defense. But really those two methods, either using a D-pad switch stick or running zone coverage and trying to regular switch stick around, that's going to be your your best bet against empty because it's so tough to play in regular zone defense. Alright, so if you found those 5 defensive tips helpful here in College Football 26, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. Again, I break down College Football 26 tips and tricks to help you guys get better every single day, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. But if you want all 5 of these tips to always save in your phone and reference during gameplay so you don't have to go surfing through a video, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join CFB University, where your first month is only going to be $1 of all my written breakdowns. It's really a no-brainer. It's going to transform your understanding of everything about this game, and I highly recommend you check it out. But if you want to see the best offensive playbooks you need to be using to score points here in CFB 26, check out this video right here. I'll see you over there. Peace.